Come on, Mama.
I got my degree at SNHU for my family. This degree is for me. I did this.
We gotta turn your TV down, Mom.
Oh, God.
Had something to drink. Jesus said, wait a minute, let me think. Said, go get me a pitcher. Fill it up with some water. I'll wave my hand across it. And we'll have wine to drink. That's came through their mind. Time after time, started off when he turned that water into wine. He was a miracle worker. He was a miracle worker. Oh yes, he was. He was a miracle worker. Look here, there was a blind man, blind, couldn't see. He said,
Go ahead, boy.
bumping them, Lord have mercy. They're bumping into me. He said, I
Go ahead,
tried
Pastor Smith.
all the doctors in town, but they all let me down. Lord, I'm gonna trust in you. Yeah, I'm gonna see what you can do. Jesus sit down on the ground, made a little ball of clay. Said, I anoint you in the name of my Father. He'll make this blindness go away. He said, hey, blind man, tell me what do you see? He said, I see men, oh yes I do, but they look just like trees. Jesus said, go wash your eyes in the pool of Siloam. And I guarantee, yes sir, you see men looking just like me. That's came through their mind. Oh yeah, time after time. And it started when he turned the water in your mind. Oh, miracle worker. He was a miracle worker. Oh yeah, and nothing too hard for him to do. Don't care what your problem, he'll see you through. He is a miracle worker. Miracle worker. Looked in the mirror, what did I see? Another one of God's miracles.
Girl, we can go to church and hear this tonight. This is something else. I like that miracle worker.
While on my way to and fro, trying to do good, I let my goodness show. The enemy came, tried to take my life. He took all I had, and I don't know why. While I was down and needed a friend, Lord Jesus, some stopped and looked, but started walking again. They walked right by on the other side. As I dropped my head, I began to cry. Hey, but like a good neighbor, Jesus was there. He said, lift up your head, and don't you despair. He said, no matter what, I'll always be there for you, like a good neighbor. Yeah, Jesus.
Boy, that must like feel up over there.
He bound up my wounds, healed my broken heart. Lord, He put me together.
It didn't kill a woman. Did not kill a woman.
Gave me a place where I could lie down. He said, peace is yours, right here and right now. I said, Lord, please, don't you leave my side. No, don't you worry. He said, you are my child. And from then on, whenever I'm depressed, I look to Jesus. He gives me rest. Like a good neighbor, Jesus was there. Lift up your head, and you despair. No matter what, I'll always be
last one. One last one, and we will do. And it's it. All right, all right. We're ready. Let's get going. So we're doing Joshua chapter 14. I think we finished 13. Thought we had finished 13.
I thought so too.
Yeah, I
So
think
we're on 14.
we're on 14. Yes, we're on 14.
What you said, baby? You right there? Oh,
Yep, so we're on 14. So we're finished. So I have to do this. So we're doing 14 today. And we're in Israel divides the land, is what we're in. So I just wanted to, nope. Yeah, I just put this, I think I put this one back up. I got to make sure. I put this one back up just for us to know, again, Canaan, and look at the outline of Canaan and look at everything, you know, as to just the map, because we're going to show a different map. So we're going to have a different map. I just put that one back up. So 13, we did finish, right? So that was 13. Josh, as we know, Josh was now old. He's getting old. And he's dividing up the land. We know that the Levites didn't get any of the land, no inheritance of the land, but as Pastor said, they got God. Okay. But I know what we say. I said. So here is where we are on chapter 14. And looking at chapter 14, and when you looked at 14, and it's a short one, but when we look at 14, we look at what's happening is basically, again, they're still divided. We're getting a geography or history lesson is what we're getting in chapter 14. So if we look at verse 1, and these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar, the priest, and Joshua, wait, y'all, I'm
Turn your
sorry.
camera on.
I'm getting ready to do that. I just thought about it. Thank you. I just thought about it. Okay, come on, see. And now it ain't go. There we go. I'm sorry. I forgot. There we are. We're okay. You see this past, you gotta move over a little bit. All right. And these are the countries which the children of Israel inherited in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar, the priest, and Joshua, the son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel distributed for inheritance to them. So this is actually still bringing us back from 13 up to now. Again, we're dividing the land. But Lot was their inheritance. By Lot was their inheritance, as the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses, for the 9 tribes and for the half tribe. So what does that mean?
So he told Moses this.
Okay, but what does it mean? And for the half tribe, what is half tribe supposed to be?
Manasseh and all of them.
Okay, so Manasseh and I forgot.
There's some of them too.
Okay, so Manasseh and Ephraim. So Manasseh and Ephraim. Okay, so if you did that, that only makes it.
They're counted into 2 tribes.
Okay, all right. For Moses had given the inheritance of 2 tribes and a half tribe on the other side of Jordan. But unto the Levites, he gave none inheritance among them.
Right.
So this is, again, we still at basically 13. We're getting a recap.
Yes, God is telling the story.
Okay, so
now of what happened.
Right.
How the land was divided. The land was literally divided and given before it was gotten.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, he already had told them basically in the very beginning, telling Joshua he was going to give it to him. I'm going to deliver him. He's going to give them this.
That's right.
You know.
And he had also told Moses.
Okay. Okay. And so, which is no different than us. It's just, it may not happen when we want it to happen. Okay. For the children of Joshua were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. Therefore, they gave no part unto the Levites in the land, save cities to dwell in, with their suburbs for their cattle and for their substance. As the Lord commanded Moses, so the children of Israel did, and they divided the land. So we're talking about them dividing the land. Then the children of Judah came unto Joshua in Gilgal. All right, now we got the children of Judah. And Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the boy, okay, the Kenizzite, said unto him, Thou knowest the thing that the Lord said unto Moses, the man of God, concerning me and thee in Kadesh Barnea. So I'm gonna read it all. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to espy out the land, and I brought him word again as it was in mine heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt, but I wholly followed the Lord my God. And Moses sware on that day, saying, surely the land wherein thy feet had trod shall be thine inheritance and thy children's forever, because thou hast wholly followed the Lord my God. And now behold, the Lord hath kept me alive. And he said, these 45 years, even since the Lord spake this word unto Moses. Isn't that something? That's okay. Put a pin in that. While the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness, and now, lo, I am this day 85 years old. As yet I am as strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, even so is my strength now for war, both to go out and to come in. Now therefore give me this mountain, whereof the Lord spake in that day, for thou heardest in the day how the Anakims were there, and that the cities were great and fenced. If so be the Lord will be with me, then I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said. And Joshua blessed him and gave unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh Hebron for an inheritance. Hebron therefore became the inheritance of Caleb the son of, okay, these names, Jephunneh the Kenizzite unto this day, because that he wholly followed the Lord God of Israel. And the name of Hebron before was Kirjathaba, okay, which Abba, which was a great man among the Anakim.
We can't hear you.
And the land hath rest from war. All right. I just read all of that. Okay. So.
You should have took that a little at a time. That's okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, you go ahead since I read. I need a break from those names.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
The breakup of the land. Some of this land was pre-promised before even the wilderness.
Okay.
Even before the wilderness. This goes all the way back to Numbers chapter 13. Goes all the way back to Numbers 13, when they had first spied out the land. And some came back, which was Caleb and Joshua. Because if you notice now re-enters Caleb again. Some would have wondered what happened to him. Where was he?
Because Caleb and Joshua were the original spies, right?
Among the 12. Yes, among the original 12.
Right, among the 12.
They were the two.
Right.
Caleb and Joshua were the two that said, look, let's go in. We can take the land.
Okay.
They saw it differently than the other 10.
Okay.
And you all remember 12 spies. But the other 10 said, no, we can't take that land. That land has giants. That land has fortified cities. And on and on and on. You have to go back to Numbers 13 to find that. And that angered God, and that angered Moses and everyone else, because they didn't have enough confidence or faith or trust in God to take the land. But Joshua and Caleb did. However, after most of that had passed on, Moses had promised Caleb a certain portion of the land, because he wholly, as the scripture says here, followed God. He wholly followed God. And God was very careful in his writing to let us know that Caleb wholly followed him. And in other words, Caleb believed God and believed that God would do it. And so Caleb was preserved in the wilderness. Did anybody think about that? Almost everyone that did not want to go in and take the land, they stayed in the wilderness circling until they had expired. God was not crass. He didn't just kill them and wipe them away because they didn't listen to him and didn't take the land. But he allowed them to live, but they lived in a circle in the wilderness, and until He didn't allow them to come into this promised land, hence the beginning of Joshua, until after they were all expired.
Mm.
All expired. And then their children were allowed to come in, which was, you go back to the beginning now, we're 14 chapters in, but if you go back to the beginning and you remember that Joshua had to give most of them a history lesson, most of them did not know what had happened before trying to come into the promised land. And so Joshua was real clear. You all remember the beginning of how they entered in and what they had to go through, and how Joshua was very careful in giving them instructions and what have you, and letting them know you have to follow these instructions to the T. This time they didn't go by this crazy report. They only sent in a few spies, if you remember. Didn't send in a whole lot of them. They only sent in a few, and then y'all dealt with Rahab and all of that. He didn't send very many in this time, and this time Joshua knew that they were going to take the land because God had said so. Now God said so before, but they just didn't do it because they couldn't come to agreement. However, Caleb is still with them. But if you remember, there has not been any mention of Caleb since about midway in the 13th chapter of Numbers. So Caleb kind of fell off the scene, and now God is bringing him back to tell us what's going to happen.
Okay.
But he did something in particular. He did something in particularly bold here. He went and he said, look, Moses promised me this land. Now I want it. I followed God. I went through the wilderness. He said, I'm 44 score and something. I think he was
85.
near 90.
He was 85.
And he said, I still feel good. He said, I'm just as spry as some of these young ones.
I can still go out and fight.
Yeah. So I'm ready for my land now. I'm ready.
Did Caleb fight? Because it sounds like he was not fighting. And when I first read it, it seemed like he was saying, I was one of the original 12. I done wandered the wilderness. I was 40 when I started. I done added 40 more years here, but I have all my faculties and stuff, but I'm due this inheritance because of the promise, but not necessarily because he fought.
No, I think he was with them. It's just that God wasn't telling us. I love the way that the Lord writes. The Lord writes in, and I think every good screenwriter, good movie writer, good playwright took their cues from the scripture, because God continually flips screens or flipped scenes. He'll tell you about something that happened 50 years ago and then bring you back current, and then he'll go back 10 years and then bring you back current. God has incredible writing. He's just kind of letting us know now where Caleb is in all of this. But Caleb has been there. God just didn't tell us what Caleb has been doing, because the beginning of this book and all of this was about Joshua.
Right.
Got it.
And now he's telling us about Caleb again. But God is real particular. If we're watching and reading carefully, he's real particular about exactly what he's doing. Because later in Israel's history, later in their future, these particular plots and segments of land are going to be very important later. And God was very strategic and careful as to who he was giving it to and who were to be the owners of it. And they were given specific commands as to what to do with this land. Now, keep in mind, they had already all received the laws. They had already received the Levitical laws.
Right.
They had already received the commandments. And they've all, and now God is showing us the dividends or the benefit in following him wholly, as opposed to not doing exactly what he said, even if things don't happen the way that you want them to go. Caleb and Joshua didn't want it to go this way. They would have preferred to have been in the promised land some 45 years ago. they would have preferred to have been in the promised land. Some 40 or so years ago, they would have preferred to have been in when they were young,
Right.
and preferred to have been in when most of their family and everything was intact.
Mhm.
They didn't want to go through all of this process, but because they did, God was blessing them. Now, this chapter started out, or the last one started out by saying Joshua
Mhm.
was up in age. So now, was Joshua older than Caleb, or were they around the same age? Were they in that same age vernacular? Because it said that Joshua was getting up in age, but Caleb is saying, here, look, I feel good.
Yeah, but you're
I'm-
still old.
I'm up in
Yeah.
age, but I feel
Well,
good.
But they were both, well, you think about it, when he was 45, I mean, he was 40 when they started. I'm sure they're around the same
I think so.
age. I think they're
I
around
think
the
so.
same age.
I think
aren't
they're
they?
both.
Wasn't he older though? Wasn't he 110?
And 110 when he died.
Oh, no, he's 110 when he died. That's right. After
Yeah.
they did all the conquering.
Yeah,
Right.
he wasn't 110 now, but,
Right.
but he was up there. He
Right.
was up there. But Caleb is saying, look, I feel spry. I feel good.
Mhm.
I feel like I did when I was young. I don't know if that's a play on words, but that's what Caleb is saying.
Yeah, well, he did. He was
And-
on my strength now. He's saying as my strength was then. He trying look at. He's saying I feel the same way I did back then. You know.
13
You think
says,
maybe that was his way of saying he could lead still?
absolutely,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about that briefly. Let's talk about what happens when you're given land. You are then the progenitor.
You
Right.
okay?
You're in charge.
You okay? Oh, girl, I need that outside.
Mm-hmm.
You're in charge.
All right. Go ahead. Keep going.
You're in charge of the land. I'm saying that when you're given that, you're in charge.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
You're in charge then.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got the land. Okay.
Right.
And now they're in charge of the land.
Mm-hmm.
But Joshua said, again, 13 says, and Joshua blessed him and gave Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, Hebron, for an inheritance. Now, Caleb was holding on to what God said through Moses.
Right.
And Caleb said, I know that what the Lord said is true. So give me this mountain.
But did Caleb, it is interesting that he went before him to ask for it. It's almost like he didn't think he was going to get it. And
Yeah.
it's implied. It could be implied. I'm sure it wasn't. But it is almost you want to say, wait, Caleb, I'm gonna give you yours. Just give me a minute.
Well,
But-
I think they were supposed to speak up. If you look at one of your bullet points, it says the people of Judah, led by Caleb, came to Joshua first. They said, hey, wait a minute now. He passing out the land.
Right.
So let's go
That's what-
tell him.
To make sure you don't give my
Let's-
part away.
Yeah, let's go tell him what the Lord
That's
said
what
to
I'm saying.
Moses.
Right. That's
A
what I'm
while
saying.
ago, not as if he wasn't going to get it. He just saying, look, I need to go let him know. We need to let him know
Just give me my
that
in case he forgot.
that this mountain was said by Moses that it would be mine.
Mhm.
And God put the other filler verses in there just to let us know of what Moses had promised.
Right.
So God took us back to 13
Mhm.
and the promises, then
Mhm.
brought us forward again
Mhm.
to the present,
Right.
and then Joshua blessed him. Joshua didn't have an issue with it,
Mhm.
blessed him that for an inheritance. But there was something in there and nobody's caught it. I'm surprised Sister Downey didn't say anything about it.
Mhm.
Verse 12, what do you see in verse 12? That's interesting.
They
And
did
then,
fight.
what do you see?
He's just saying he gonna. I'm shutting up. Okay.
What do you see?
I'm not, it's more than just me, so other people can see.
Well, the giant,
Yes,
the Anakin,
thank you.
yeah, the Anakin. That's what I was kind of saying before. Like when Caleb and Joshua went to Canaan, they saw them giants, and and most of the other spies that were with them, they kind of like backed down. But so. And now at the end, they still talking about these giants, so it's
Yes.
like in the beginning and in the end, they were
Yes.
still able to conquer these Anakims.
Yes. And I think that's what Sister Sean Felicia was making reference to, that Caleb was still able to go fight. Caleb told him, look, I'm prepared. I'm ready. You can drive
I'm
them
not
out.
scared of these giants.
That's right. Caleb had the same mentality
At the
in
beginning.
Joshua 14 that he had in Numbers 13. He said it's 45 years later, but I feel the same way. Give me that land. I'll go in there and get it. The Lord said that it's ours. I'll go in there and get it. Even if it's
Take it by force.
and they say, look, it's fenced up. It's got great fences and it's got Anakins. Caleb said, I'll drive them out. Just give me the land. Don't worry about it. And it said Joshua blessed him.
Yeah. And gave it to him.
And it became theirs.
And it became there, right.
And before it was Hebron, it was Kirjath, I guess, Kajathbar, I believe.
Okay.
That's what it was, which Arba was a great man among the Anakins. Arba was a giant. He was a great man among the Anakins, and the Anakins owned that land, and Caleb took it from them. Now, this area that they're speaking of, it was definitely areas in Africa which they have now stolen and said that it's not. Okay, it was definitely areas in Africa, and these were darker people. Okay, these were darker people, and it was areas around Arabia, and in those areas, it was that region. Back then, I mean, now that area is Arabia and all of that, but before this was definitely the African area. You know, now it said that the name has been changed to Hebron. My studies says that this was definitely Africa, which isn't said to be Africa now.
No, it's not Africa now. No.
So the more we read the Bible and the more we investigate, we find out that they really did take a lot of land from Africa. A lot of land. Africa is huge now,
Right.
but it was a lot larger.
Anybody, anything?
I just want to say that all this land that was being allotted to these tribes, they were Pacific, you know, like maybe one tribe might have been good with cattle and sheep and stuff. So they got a land, or they got property, or their inheritance was land that was, you know, real conducive to raising animals. So a lot of the way the land was allotted, and I think they said it was allotted mostly by God.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
you know, Moses did those couple of tribes, you know, he set those lands aside, but most of them were specific to each tribe, you know. So it was almost like, you know, you couldn't be jealous of somebody that got the green pastures and all that, you know, but that was because they were herders, you know, and, you know, things like that. So I thought that was real interesting, how God gives us our gifts that are specific to us. And we can use that gift to, you know, help the church as a whole, so to speak. So we're all given something different. So we really, you know, shouldn't be jealous of what God gives us. You know, it may look like he gave somebody more than what they got, you know, just like the Levites, they didn't get any inheritance, you know, per se, as far as land is concerned.
Right.
And another interesting thing I found out that what was that priest called? What's his name? Eliezer.
Yeah.
He was one of the sons of Aaron, you know, and that was from a Levite. So a lot of this stuff that we're reading about, some of the descendants are from, who do I want to say the descendants are? Esau and Jacob. You know, and even some of the people that they fought might have been like their cousins and stuff, you know?
Right. Exactly. That is exactly right. God was particular. He was particular with who was going to have what. He had a particular strategy.
Right.
Because later it was going to make a difference for Israel. And it did make a difference later. I mean, they lost a lot of that land in later times because of of idol worship and different things, but God had a particular strategy for them. He strategized the land and the distribution of the land for their perseverance, for their preservation.
Mhm.
He was making sure that they would be good from then on.
From then on. Mhm.
They ruined that.
Mhm.
They ruined that, not God.
They did. Man.
15th verse says at the very end, and they had a rest
Mhm.
from war.
Mhm.
So that land in that area was able to take it easy for a little while.
Yeah, that little while.
Yeah, a little while.
Okay. All right. So all I did was just wanted to show us, here is the division of the promised land or of Canaan. So here we have who got what.
Yes.
So we can actually see who got what on this from this map is, looking at Dan, Reuben, Judah. So where they actually, those tribes were.
Yes.
Just wanted to show us, some of us are those history buffs. Now we go to
Was
chapter.
Manasseh a favorite?
I'm
Because
sorry.
he got a pretty, was Manasseh a favorite because he got a pretty big piece?
I don't know if that was the thing. Can't say that.
Judah got a
But-
pretty big piece too.
Right. If you
Yeah,
look.
but Simeon climbed on in there.
Yeah, he got a little piece of it. He got a little bit of it.
Mhm.
Isn't Manasseh Joseph's son?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, ding ding ding.
Got it. I'll write them down. He's on it.
Manasseh and Ephraim.
Yep.
Or Ephraim.
Yep.
Those were the sons. But that was a divided, that's what it meant by half. That was a divided.
That don't look like half.
Well, Manasseh got a portion and a half.
Okay.
Oh.
You
So
heard,
that's what I said. That ain't
you
a
read,
half.
you read the half, you got a portion and a half.
Mhm.
And Ephraim got a great part of that too.
Interesting how you see the Jordan in there, Remember this?
Were some of these tribes bigger than other tribes?
Some
Maybe
were,
that's why more got more land and then some got less.
well, some were for sure. Judah was a huge tribe. And Judah ended up being, being the kingly area over time. Manasseh, I'm not sure what size Manasseh's tribe was. Naphtali's tribe was rather large. They didn't look like they had very much land, but they were pretty large. Gad was not large at all. Benjamin was very small. Dan was actually a large tribe. They didn't get much land, but they were very large. But many of them over time, if you start thinking about reading in Isaiah, reading in Jeremiah, and you're reading in Habakkuk, these were the areas where they were all floating around, and God was judging all these areas.
Mhm.
He was judging them. If the deeper you get into the major prophets and the minor prophets, God was judging this entire area.
Mhm.
He was judging it hard because basically the whole area fell. All of this that we see here, they all fell. They all either worship idol gods or they did something that was displeasing to God, and he continually sent prophets over and over and over and over and over and over again, prophet after prophet after prophet after prophet.
Mhm.
And he allowed war after war after war to continue. But if none of that had happened, all of this would have been theirs exclusively, and God was going to continually expand and give them more. They would have been able to just keep going and taking over more and more and more territory, had there been a full holy obedience to God's word, as they said Caleb did.
Okay. I was trying to look up Manasseh.
Oh, no, I remember that now. You said they did say that there was much more left to conquer.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. It was more.
And maybe it's so big, like the Sister Downey said, because of depending on what each part of the land yielded in their specific skills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just trying to see. Go ahead.
And you see the rivers and you see the streams. Remember, I think it was Exodus 20, or not Exodus 20. It was somewhere in that area where God told them that you wouldn't have to worry about the irrigation system that you had to deal with in Egypt. In Egypt, they had to, Egypt had a real expansive, technologically forward before their time irrigation system, because Egypt did not have enough water to distribute throughout all of the land. So they built this incredible system that was man ran and man fueled. And a lot of the Hebrew children were ones that were pushing that water all the way through. But God had promised them in this promised land, it would have water supplies. And so you can see where all of this land had adequate water to where they didn't have to worry about irrigation or any of that. So God could promise that you would benefit from the land itself, that he would send the waters in the seasons that it needed, and he would let the dry ground come and make the crops and everything grow. And it was all natural. So this map shows that. This map shows that a free flow of water is running through all of this land.
Mm-hmm.
All of it.
I was just looking up Manasseh.
I have a question. Dan, Ephraim, Judah, Simon, those were all the name of children, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually became the head of the tribes?
Every one of them. Every one of them. Joseph's children. Or Jacob's, I'm sorry. Every one of them.
What happened? What about Esau's clan, so to speak?
Esau's clan would have been more part of Judah, or in that they would have been in that area. But remember, Esau lost the birthright. He lost the birthright. So the promise that came to Jacob throughout all of that time was to him, and it was going to be to his offspring and not to Esau's. Esau was a part of it, because if you see in the bottom there, you see the Edomites there. That's Esau. But Esau wasn't a promised leader because it was promised to Jacob. It was promised to Jacob, and God kept his promise throughout all of that time. And even when we read over in Revelations, when we read over again, the tribes, if you will reappear. The tribes will reappear, and things will be broken up again into the tribes. And all of us, in some kind of way, we're all going to fit somewhere in these tribes where when God distributes and does this all over again, we're getting a prelude to what's going to happen again.
Mm.
So Esau lived alongside of Jacob's tribes, all those tribes.
Yes, the Edomites it's Esau and his people. There were many, cousins and things. Now the Philistines weren't cousins, but the Ammonites were. The Moabites weren't cousins, but if you remember, that's where Ruth came from. She was a Moabitess. They were all somewhat friendly. They were all somewhat friendly. It's just that they were not the ones that God had chosen to be the leaders of the nations. Mm-hmm. But they were somewhat friendly. The Ammonites got along with them. The Arameans got along with them for a while. The Hittites, not really. The Philistines, not really.
They had a problem with the Hittites in the beginning. though, too.
Exactly. I said the Hittites didn't really get along.
Right.
The Philistines didn't really get along, but the rest of them did. The Aramaeans and the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Edomites, they did. Now, the Aramaeans, does that sound familiar from the cross? And all of this ties in. It's incredible how God's reading is so, his writing is so incredible.
Mhm.
Remember Joseph, who gave the borrowed tomb?
Right.
Well, he was an Aramaean. And look where they were back in that time.
Mhm. Okay.
That's who Joseph was.
Mhm.
Or yeah.
Was Simeon an Aramean?
No, Simeon was a Hebrew. He was the son of Jacob, one of Jacob's sons.
I'm
But
talking about the
Jo-
one that carried the cross.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Don't know. It's hard to get more information on him. I know that many say, and even the theologians agree, that he was definitely black.
Mm.
Even the theologians agree with that.
Really?
They-
Why?
they-
Because he was king.
well, they've absolutely agreed with that. I mean, it's difficult to get all of the theologians to agree on a particular race or color concerning the Bible. It's very difficult. But there's no argument that
With that one.
that he was black.
Okay.
There is no argument. Some say that Barabbas was black. Some say
Okay.
that's what some say. And initially, years ago, I don't know if Pastor Smith remembers, Lord, years ago, when we were doing the seminary courses, Pastor Wise suggested, and I was a bit offended. He suggested that Barabbas was black, which again, it offended me somewhat. And also Pastor Jolly and his brother, we were all in those classes together. Pastor Jolly of Pilgrim,
Right.
Of Mount Pilgrim. And we were somewhat offended because it almost like it was a suggestion that it had to be a black man that was a criminal,
Right.
that they were wanting released in place of Jesus. And so again, it's a very difficult task to find complete agreement by the theologians on a particular race.
Mm.
You just
wonder
can't
why.
find 100% agreement.
But okay.
But they did for Simon.
Right. Carrying the cross.
Every one of them agrees that he was black. But we don't know. So far, there's still arguments about his origin.
Mm.
There's arguments about where he came from. Some are saying he came from the Decapolis.
I don't have anything to say. Okay. Well, there's no need to try in 15. We won't get that far. We did one. Got one.
14.
Yeah, we did 14.
No more questions on 14?
Because I brought that up. This was my lead-in in 15. But
Yeah.
I'll lead it back and we'll just start with that one to 15.
Well, 15 got 63 verses.
I know.
It's,
I know it does. Well, it's broken down.
Oh, okay.
It's broken down.
it's funny to me.
So is Caleb gonna take over? Or are they gonna just rest?
Well, for now, he's going to rest.
Mhm.
For now. But when you look at this map and you look at all of
Right,
these,
for now.
names, yeah, for now he's going to
For
rest.
now, right.
When you look at this map and you look at all of these names and these areas, it's so exciting, because when you think about the New Testament and you see all these areas and you find out that God's people are still in these areas, but these areas have been taken over by outside people.
Mm.
They've been Jericho. Now remember, they went over to Jericho in the New Testament, in the Gospels, and they did not want to. None of the people that were traveling with Jesus wanted to fellowship with anyone in Jericho.
Mhm.
Interesting. In Acts, remember, Paul was on the road to Damascus looking for the Christians looking for the people that had spread it out. You know, once the persecution started, they all dispersed. They started running in different areas, and a lot of them ran up in that area where you see up in Armenia and in that area. And Paul was hunting them down. Remember, Paul's calling came on the road to Damascus. It's all so exciting.
How it all
when you
is
start
intertwined.
looking at it.
How it all is intertwined.
It's so very exciting. They were all still running around in the place that God had given them, but they lost it. How is probably parallel to today.
Probably.
There's a lot of stuff that we're all running around that should be ours.
So did the people refer to themselves as I'm from the tribe of Ephraim or from the tribe of Dan? Is that how would they?
In certain cases, yes. If you remember, Abram started that when they say it was from the tribe of Abram. And yes, that's how they identified themselves. If you remember at the fire after the cross, or during that night before the cross, when they were going to take Jesus up to see Caiaphas, if you remember, they said that's him. He was with this Jesus group. That's how they identified. Shayla's got her hand up.
Go ahead. Taylor, go ahead. You can say what you got to say. See, your hand is up.
I have a question. So
Go ahead.
my question is, would that be considered their last name? Like, I don't know. Like Judah would that be their last name, or did they even have last names back then?
No, as Sister Downey just said, no, they had tribe affiliations, you know, kind of like the gangs do today. You know, I don't know. I'm 1-7.
Don't leave it alone.
It looked deformed.
Always wondered that what that had been their last name, like the Edomites, like would that be like Shayla Edomite, or you know what I'm saying?
No, it was tribe affiliation. That's what it was. The Philistines, you know, sometimes you never got their names. We know that King Achish was one king of the 5 lords of the 10 lords rather of the Philistines, but they were just called the Philistines. That was their tribe. Israel was always called either Israel or God's people. But back then, as Sister Downey just pointed out, back then they were identified by the names of who that land was given to. Of who that land was given to. You know, they say, where are you? I'm in the land of Dan. Or I'm in the land of Gad. And that's how they were referred to. Ai was literally a person in the land of Ai. That was a person. So that land was identified by and through that person. And as time progressed, they never lost that. Remember, Ruth was a Moabitess. She was from the land of the Moabites. And her name was Ruth. But now the Bible rarely gave a last name, even as some people think that Christ was Jesus' last name. It wasn't, but that's what they think. They think his first name Jesus, last name Christ. No.
Jesus Christ.
He was Jesus the Christ.
And that was his middle name.
Yeah.
Maybe you did 2 things right. All right.
What?
Make them keep seeing it and talking about it till they know who it is. Okay. Let's just shut up a while.
Yeah,
Jesus the Christ. That was middle name.
His name Jesus. What was his last name? Christ.
That's what people say.
And some people, if you go to Israel, it won't be pronounced Jesus. It'll be pronounced Yeshua.
Yeshua.
Yeah, it will be pronounced Yeshua. And if you're not careful, if you're ever out and you're in casual conversation and you run up across Muslims or some of the others, they'll try to trip you up with asking you, do you know who Yeshua was?
Right.
They'll try to trip you up. It's just a Hebrew pronunciation. That's all. Yeshua or Yeshua, which is almost the same as Joshua.
Right, because they spell it
Right.
with a Y instead of a J.
And I think you Spanish majors would know. I think it's the same as Jesus. Is it? Is Jesus pronunciation in Spanish Jesus?
Yes. Yes.
So they try to trip you up in many of those cases when they're talking. But I don't know anyone in the scripture actually that had a last name. Not that I can remember. There may be someone, I just don't remember anyone that had a last name. That is a Western trope. That's a Western idea. Even in certain cases in Israel now, there are some who only has one name.
They link by family and by place back then, right?
Yes.
Right.
So are we supposed to say is Yeshua HaMashiach?
Bye.
but now y'all do know, even we picked that up on that, especially in the South, and most of our ancestors, most of our parents and grandparents and things were from the South. Y'all know it was always identified. Yeah, that's George's son. Yeah, you know, George, them over there on 8th Street. You go around there, you see that bush, and they live on the other. Yeah, that's his son. George, your daddy. And they may not even ever ask you your name. Is George your daddy? And everybody that come, hey, y'all come around here and see George's son.
Yeah, so do it. They will so do it.
That's what they would do.
They
Yeah.
will so do it.
And you would be known as George boy. Yeah, you George boy. Come on in here, boy. You George boy. How George doing? They may never ask you.
George boy become your name.
They may never say your name. Yeah,
That's just like with our kids, you know, when they start dating or, you know, we want to know, well, what's their family's name?
Yes. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And if you ask the right person, you say, yeah, I heard of them. Did they kin to Carmela used to work over at the Master Lot?
The whole family history.
All for good reason, especially in Milwaukee, because you mess around, you can be married to your cousin for real.
That's the truth.
And I personally know people that happen too, where they've dated their cousin or something, or almost have.
Oh no, it's happened. It's happened where, and it's the truth, where it was in Iowa actually, where he brought the girl to the family reunion, and they were engaged to be married. He brought her to the family reunion and found out that was literally
Somebody else just told me
his cousin. And they had been dating for several years.
Chris was telling me that.
Yes. Well, it happens for sure.
Like that.
Went to the family reunion and found out she was family. And then they had a struggle because they loved each other.
Yep.
Yeah, figure out what they were going to do.
Family reunions.
It's good to know.
Just like going to school.
It's good to know our kin. But we did adopt some of those habits from that time. We adopted some of those habits, and especially in the South, you go in certain lands and in certain areas, and it was known as so-and-so's farm, and they could tell you about all of the land that they had before it was all stolen. Yeah, before it was all stolen. Yeah, the sharecroppers came in and literally took their land. Literally.
And made them work on it.
Yes, made them do the work.
Well, you guys, Thought we were
Yeah, I
gonna
guess that's
do
why my
the
lawyer intake is good. I'll be like, who are you related to who? Who your grandparents were? They'd be like, I gotta go through a whole history.
Amen.
I thought we were gonna get
Amen.
past chapter 14.
Uh,
It was only 15 verses.
Look, you gotta get a
But
little, you gotta
yes,
get a little
nah.
DNA and everything today.
Bye.
You gotta get a little DNA and
Little
everything
Dana,
today.
you gotta get little Dana.
Yes, would you object to taking this DNA test?
All right. All right, everybody.
Y'all
It's
laugh.
been fun.
I'm so serious.
We know you are.
I'm so serious.
Right, I know you are. So,
Hey,
all right. Chapter 14 down. Let's see what we got. 9
15.
more to go. Because I think we go to 24, don't we?
Yes.
9 more to go. We're getting there.
We're gonna get done with it.
9 more to go win.
Nine more
9 more to
chapters.
go with 9.
9 more
when?
chapters.
9 more chapters to go out of Joshua.
And then we're hoping that before we're done, we're hoping that you all can tell us what you want to do next.
All right.
Amen.
Amen.
Tell us
You
what
want to follow what you gonna give us to get.
if you don't, then I'll definitely
Some people
have something.
some people can stand right there in church and hear you say what you said, what you just said a few minutes, and they go back to say it again to rehash it back in their mind. Shoot, they be done forgot.
That's true. That's true.
They be done forgot. Then they want to argue when somebody else come up and say, "Oh, yeah, Mr. Man, the pastor just got through saying sit, so they're gonna take it all from him then." Then they're gonna be ready to go home.
Well, y'all think about it.
We're gonna have to train our children. I ain't playing.
We gotta get past, we gotta get there first, Pastor. So
Y'all might
I'll
want to go
let us
somewhere,
finish.
to another book. Y'all let us know if you want anything in particular.
If we
Listen.
want into what?
If you,
wanna,
if
I
you
might
want any
create
study
a
in
quiz.
particular.
We might create a quiz to see what we retained.
Okay.
All right.
They might be scared of Jesus.
So
You know, they might think they done dropped off their behind.
yeah. So all right, you all.
I'm just giving you a laugh because you needed a laugh in between what you had just thought.
He gave me enough. So all right, you all. We love you.
Love you all.
All right, love you too.
Good night.
Good night.
Love you.
Good night.
Love y'all. Good night.
Okay, come on. Everything coming up now. I'm trying to cut it out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.